All right, so so we got this video, dog. I mean, what you think about? I mean, just the title, right? Just the title.
Promiscuity is, I mean, it gotta be something interesting. This is a worldwide issue, you know.
It says society.
Yeah, society in general, shit, that's all over.
So let's look at it. I'm about to press pretty.
Yeah.
Let me see if you get. Let me know if you can hear it.
Uh,
Is rising. The percentage of 18 to
You can hear it.
29-year-old women
yeah.
that have had
Uh,
10 partners or more is at an all-time high at 17%, over 2 times higher than it was in 1989. Furthermore, for the same group, the percentage that have had sex with a stranger, in other words, from meeting a guy at a bar, club, or dating app, has increased from 20% in 88 to a staggering 60% last year. Now, this video isn't going to be explaining why.
all right, check this out. First of all, how he get these numbers? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's based on surveys and shit like that. But, I mean, I guess if it's anonymous, people will be truthful. But, yeah, maybe, yeah, I mean, it could be true.
Okay, in order to get these numbers, you got to do a survey, right? Or you got to bring people in to answer questions somehow, right?
Yeah, more than likely it's a survey online or some shit like that.
Yeah, because nowadays, well, you remember in college they used to do what at the psychology building they used to do a lot of tests, right? A lot of survey tests.
Well, I remember them doing like experiments, like economic experiments, like basically seeing how greedy people are. Like if you have a chance to get over, will you? Shit like that. I don't remember them asking no dating questions.
Oh yeah, they never asked. Did they didn't even ask no dating or no dating type questions at all, huh?
Not that I remember. I mean, I just remember it'd be like shit on the computer. A little economic. It was mostly economics.
Or about if you'll get about if you'll get over, or about or if you're willing to tell, and stuff like that, right?
Oh, yeah, shit like that. Really, yeah, shit like that. Um, cause there are different ones. The one that I remember was one where it was some greedy type shit, and I definitely was on the greedy side. I cast out that one.
Oh, about like they ask you questions like, "Oh, are you willing to do this even though this would happen?" Or
I mean, basically.
all right, but we got bar, club, dating apps. That's interesting how they put those three together, right? I mean, a bar and a club is pretty much almost the same thing. Where I guess there are bars in most clubs, but it's interesting how you broke that up, as the main three ways.
And a main three ways single people meet each other. Um, that kind of that like a sexual kind of way. You pretty much know what
Yeah.
it is.
But then look at that trend line though, that trend line. But look, that trend line, what that said, 2018, it seemed like it's 2 years apart for each line. But that yeah, it's like wow, like that trend line for the since 2018, that jump. Look at that jump. You see that jump, dog? Come on, dog.
Yeah, it
After
seems like this
2016?
is the best time to be a single man, I guess.
Dang,
Ain't
man.
lying.
All right, so let's see what else they say.
Why we've
Mm.
seen a sharp rise in this data. Because I already have a video explaining this, for which there are 6 reasons. Instead, I'm going to be talking about the consequences of what will happen to society if these trends continue. And lastly, just so I'm not leaving you in suspense, I can tell you right away things are not looking good for the future. If things carry on as they are, there will be very dark times ahead for the next generation of children.
Here we go with this not having YouTube Premium.
Men, and most surprisingly,
Yeah.
women as well. Anyway, let's get into it. Consequence number one: the next generation of kids will face hardship. Study after study shows children born in single parent households perform worse in just about every metric than those born in joint parent households. They get worse grades at school, are less likely to do sports or extracurricular, are more likely to drop out, less likely to go college, have lower employment rates, have lower paying jobs, have worse health and more health problems, are more likely to commit crime and end up in jail, more likely to divorce after getting married, and so on. In fact, the economic situation is so bad that almost half of children born to single mothers are currently living below the poverty line. Where
Now, I wonder what country is he talking about though. He ain't even because he does bring up the countries later on with the amount of children each country or the women are having, but in this one he not specifying a country. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it got to be U.S. though. I mean, as far as the single parents, U.S. got to be number one in that shit. Hey, but to me, he ain't specifying single mother or single father because I think it's a big difference, especially depending on what the kid is. You know what
Oh
I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. That's the thing. Like they make it seem like yeah, because you never really hear them, compl- even mention yeah single fathers and like in studies or whatever. It's like
Yeah, because I heard this before. You know, kids from single homes are
oh yeah,
perform worse and all the metrics and whatnot. But what about like, all right, because I'm talking about me right now. Because single father with a son, I think that's a lot different than single father with a daughter, or in most cases, a single mother with a son. It seemed like,
yeah.
or
Well,
daughter too.
yeah, we'll get back to the video.
Yeah.
Whereas only 13% of joint parent households are in the same position. Now, obviously, all of these problems are associated with kids being raised by single parents. But what does this have to do with promiscuity? Well, promiscuity, and in particular female promiscuity, leads to an increase in single parent kids for two reasons.
All right, what do you think the two reasons gonna be? Yeah.
Well, I mean, people are less likely to deal with somebody if they know they got options. So, something like that.
Mm,
Yeah,
I guess,
grass is always greener on the other side. Somebody else could take care of me more, or whatever. More
nah,
opportunities.
let's see what the two reasons he say.
One, it increases the number of women that get pregnant by accident. And then, if she decides to keep the baby with no man in place, she will be left to raise the child on her own. And two, formerly promiscuous women are way more likely to divorce their husbands. Sixfold, in fact, from having 10 or more previous partners, compared to women that have had no premarital partners. And in these
Dog, man.
That makes
Hey,
sense.
when I think about that, I think about then like imagine if Kanye would have saw this video before he got with Kim K. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he probably wasn't even trying to hear it.
Wait, this video just came out though, like a couple days ago though.
Yeah.
I wonder if Kanye knew, that because you have heard that like it's harder for women to pair bond and stick with a man if they've been with so many men, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if you've been through so many people, I mean, pretty much like I was saying, dog. Like if you've been with so many people, then you always know you can get somebody else. So it's like, why would you put up with their shit when you know you can get somebody else?
Yeah, and I mean, I can see why you still hear dudes saying, I'd rather, m- marry or start a family or get a chick pregnant that's damn near has hardly has no partners before. I'm saying pretty much a damn near virgin. I'm saying for the most part,
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
just just to decrease, just to increase, you know, the chances of her just staying with you, especially in a family marriage situation.
I mean, I don't know if they know that. Maybe somewhere in their mind they know that, but I think it's like you don't want to be with a chick that's been with everybody, that got that many bodies on their resume.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who wants that?
Couples that end up divorcing where kids had already been born,
Get back.
it means the mother will now be left on her own to raise them. Anyway, of these two scenarios, I believe the first is way worse. Because the child potentially may never meet his or her father at any stage of upbringing. And when this happens, it has a major negative impact on the child's life, especially if it's a boy. The reason a boy misses out more is because he will have no father figure to look up to teach him how to be a masculine man. Whereas for a girl, she will always have her mother to teach her femininity. As for the second scenario, this is a little better, but still can be bad depending on when the divorce happens. If the parents split up when the child is close to 18, it should be mostly fine because the father was there for the majority of the years. But if it happens when the child was under 5, it's almost as bad as never meeting the father in the first place, because the child has barely developed or had a chance to learn about the world. Anyway, what underpins all of this goes back to the original point of promiscuity. By a mother choosing either to have a one night stand unprotected or a wild past that makes her more likely to divorce, both increase the chance she'll end up as a single mother, which, as shown, impedes the quality of her child's upbringing. Anyway, that's the first point, and for the second consequence, the next group affected by female promiscuity is men. I will tell you though, this point is a little nuanced. Because turns out, if you are in the top 10% of men, you actually benefit from promiscuous women. However, if you are in the bottom 90%, you are almost certainly in a worse position.
I follow this thread.
Hey, they will put
Bam!
in a commercial after
Tax
that,
cut.
huh?
Maybe.
Very funny.
To explain, starting with the top 10%, they benefit because it's in men's evolutionary strategy to attract as many women as possible. In other words, spread their seed far and wide. And because they are in the top 10%,
Alright. Yo, I never heard nobody like break it down like that, really.
Nah, I ain't
Basically,
never heard that.
he's saying, damn, man's supposed to be out here trying to get with multiple and spreading their seed with multiple. Basically, this is like on some Nick Cannon type shit.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Spread your seed up.
they will have no shortage of options, with women wanting them on a casual basis. And whether or not they actually end up getting these women pregnant, they will still at the least live a life of fulfillment, or at the very least, one of recurring dopamine hits. What these men get to enjoy is abundance, variety, and novelty because of their high standing position in mate value. Meanwhile, for the bottom 90% of men, they are almost certainly worse off when women embrace promiscuity. And the reason for this, put simply, is because dating is a zero-sum game. So when the top 10% of men capitalize on their abundance of women, it leaves hardly anything for the bottom 90%. In contrast, when monogamy is the presiding structure in dating, it leads to an equal distribution of men and women. So, in theory, it will mean every man has a chance no matter where he falls on the hierarchy. However, now promiscuity is rising, we are seeing less and less of this playing out. In fact, I've showed in these two videos more in depth the consequences of when dating gets more competitive. Feel free to check them out afterwards. Anyway, that explains how the bottom 90% of men have it worse. Now moving to the next point, which sounds dramatic on first listen, but at the same time is not fantasy. And that is population collapse.
All
For
right.
anyone who doesn't know,
You heard what he just said?
Population collapse.
That's what he said. So check this out. You see this? He about to break it down by all these countries.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's see what he say.
the birth rates in basically every Western country have been below 2 for the best part of the last 50 years. USA 1.7, UK 1.6, Canada 1.5, Italy 1.2, Germany 1.5, Australia 1.6.
I mean, but USA compared to these, USA. How come you say you went to Italy? How come Italy looking so sus on this right now? Did you? Because you was in Italy back in. You studied abroad, right?
Yeah.
Out there.
Well, it might be because it's so cheap to travel from Italy to England to Paris. Maybe because they could travel so cheap, then they be out here and shit. And you know they love their wine and shit. You know they love their wine.
Why you think they not really having? How come you think they the lowest on here?
I mean, because it's a big Catholic country. You know what I'm saying? The church still on there. The church still out here. They still believe in family and shit. They still believe in family.
But if that's the case, wouldn't they have better numbers than this?
I mean, again though, I mean, they could travel all over Europe for like gas prices. Like, it's probably cheaper for me to drive from here to Tallahassee. No, it's cheaper for them to fly to England than it is for me to drive from Miami to Tallahassee.
Okay, okay.
So you traveling, you meet that's one night stand central though when you travel. Like, damn near the point, really.
So you're saying it's a lot cheaper and a lot more convenient to travel the city to city out there
Yeah.
than it is out here.
Plus, they got the train system and all that. I mean, I think traveling got a lot to do with it.
Oh yeah, the train system out there probably way more efficient and faster, right?
What? And it's so cheap. So you go from like the north of Italy to the south of Italy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like easy.
So what's the next biggest country next to Italy?
The biggest next to Italy, I want to say maybe France.
So you think they got a train that go from Italy to France?
Nah, but like I'm saying, like throughout Italy.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get back to the video.
Yeah.
Now, if a population wants to sustain itself, the birth rate needs to be at least 2. This is because
You see that? At least 2. So they saying these countries ain't even sustaining this population, bro. Get back to the video.
it takes 2 people, 1 man and 1 woman, to produce a child. And this is just to break even. If a population wants to grow, it needs to be more like 2.5 or 3, which coincidentally, this is the number of children women say they want. Which begs the question, Why is there this large disparity between how many children women say they want and how many actually end up being born? Well, I believe promiscuity is partly to do with it. Allow me to
You see how he said, right? This is how he said partly. I thought he was going to say it was the main reason. He said partly.
Yeah, what's the other reason?
demonstrate. 60 years ago, the average age of marriage for women was 20 on the nose. And after getting married, a woman would pretty much start popping out babies immediately. The birth rate was 3.5 at this time, so she would keep getting pregnant until she has 3, 4, or even 5 children. And because of health advancements, most of these children would grow to adulthoods, so they can repeat the process and the population grows. However, nowadays things are far, far different. Today, essentially no women get married at 20. In fact, the average age
He said hardly no women.
Nah?
He said
Yeah,
hardly no women gets married at 20 nowadays.
yeah. Yeah, it's like one couple when we was at FSU. They got married when they was out there. Yeah, because the girls want these big elaborate weddings. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some guys do want it too, but I think that got something to do with it too. They want to stack their money up and have a big wedding. If daddy can't pay for it.
We're back to it.
is almost touching 30. Why? Well, a lot of modern women today now see their 20s as a time of exploration, studying, and discovery.
Yep.
Instead of raising families, they are hyper focused on their education to set themselves up financially in the future. And because of this, a lot refrain from taking dating seriously in this time, and all wouldn't even entertain the thought of getting pregnant. However, once they reach their late 20s, early 30s, they start to realize time is running out and they'll need to ramp up the level of urgency if they want to fulfill their goal of having 2 to 3 kids. Now, ideally, she should already have a long term partner in place by this point so she can begin a family straight away. However, only half of the bell curve of women do this. The other half of women get married past the age of 28. This happens because I believe a lot of them had been snooping around dating casually in the last decades. So, for these women, if they still want children, they'll likely need to first spend the next 2 to 3 years searching for an adequate guy, taking her past 30, then spend another 2 to 3 years building a connection, finding if he's suitable long term. Now she's in her mid 30s, and given the time she has left, realistically, she will only be able to birth 1, at most 2 children. And then from this point, though she will likely have the financial potential to raise more kids, she can't because she's biologically locked out from doing so. To give some exact
And that's interesting, like that being. I mean, do you? Yeah, that biology locked out. That's interesting, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. I mean, it definitely makes sense what you're saying about them. Women exploring themselves and school and money. I mean, trying to set themselves up. So yeah, you spend a lot of time doing that. You talking about a whole decade from 20 to 30, and now you want to do it now? It's a little too late.
Yeah. But yeah, the biology locked out. I mean, do you think most women know? Because do they even? I mean, do most women know that biology? If they really want
Yeah,
kids, that I mean,
yeah, yeah. They know. They know.
right? They know, but they still not acting with a sense of. Most of them, that's maybe in their 30s, that they really do want to have kids. Cause think about it. All right, it is a bunch of single women in their 30s, and some even in their 40s. I'm pretty sure that still trying to have kids.
Well, yeah, I mean, because they could like freeze their eggs and shit like that, you know.
Yeah.
So later on they could do that shit. That's what they think, at least.
Let's get back to the video, but yeah.
Mm.
Figures, a woman's chance of conceiving plummets after 35 and is almost zero come 40. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get here, after this ordeal, the foundations of a huge problem have now been laid because when we zoom out and look at broader society, if every woman is doing this, or at least enough of them, it starts to lead to population collapse. The first way to notice this happening is an inverted population pyramid, like South Korea already has, and where the consequences are starting to be felt. What consequences? Well, in the short term, it places a huge amount of pressure on all 20 to 60-year-olds who are working, as they now need to prop up the rest of society financially. They not only have to support their own lifestyles, but a bunch of extra people's lifestyles who are either over the age of 65 or below the age of 20, mainly through tax contributions. And this increased workload in turn leads to less babies being born, which only exacerbates the population decline. This continues until we reach in the long term the steady collapse of our populations. Anyway, that's the third reason. This leads me to my fourth and final point of how female promiscuity is bad for society, and that is it negatively affects women. That's right, women's self inflicted actions impact them in a bad way. How ironic. Anyway, what are the main factors? Well, women who have promiscuous pasts are less happy in their marriages. So, if they don't end up divorcing their husbands, they'll be feeling trapped and bored in their marriage. And part of the reason I believe this happens comes from the comparison mindset that develops after engaging in hookup culture. Or, in other words, it leads to the grass is always greener
Oh yeah,
than
you did
here.
mention that,
And
right?
why do I believe
Yeah, for sure.
this? Well, how many times have you heard a woman talk comparing all the guys she's slept with? As a matter of fact, there's this one trend on TikTok where women do exactly this. They rate the quality of their previous partners out of 10 and finish by ranking them. And to be honest, I actually feel quite sorry for these women because when they eventually settle down and find a guy, they will have had so much prior experience to compare to that the probability their husband will be the best they've ever had will be extremely small. The data
Uh,
shows less than half of women report their best intimacy being with their husbands. How does that
hmm.
sound for a 40-year marriage? And in comparison,
Wait,
by
when that
default,
study, they did a
small.
study. When that
The
study
data
came out,
shows less
all
than
right.
half.
According to a recent study by iVillage, never heard of that before. Never heard of iVillage. Less
Nah,
than less less than half of wedded women marry the person who is the best sex of their lives. 52% say that was an ex. Mm.
it's at I Village. Let me see.
Yeah, Google that because I never heard that shit before.
Yeah, I ain't never heard of him.
uh,
Half of women report their best intimacy being with their husbands. How does that sound for a 40-year marriage? And in comparison, by default, 100% of women that have only ever had one partner will automatically have their husband as their best intimacy of their life.
oh, that's by default.
Another study.
That's by default, right? Because that's the only person she be with.
Exactly.
I mean, but think about it. What percentage of women
How does that sound for a 40-year
can
marriage? And
do
in
that?
comparison,
And
by default,
that's like only
100%
1%,
of women that have
5% or
only ever
less.
had one partner will automatically have their
That a woman would be okay with just having one man partner for the most part.
Hey, and by the way, iVillage is owned by NBC Universal.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
man. Okay, so they kind of legit then.
mass media company. mass media.
Okay. Okay. So, but
Like this
yeah,
is good.
but that's interesting to know. Dog, imagine going up. Imagine just asking the chick how many partners would you say you've had. I mean, would they even would they even give it? Would they even give a straight answer? Like,
I don't see how. I mean, maybe off camera or something, or yeah, maybe. Yeah, on camera, definitely not. What J Cole say? She says you only had about 2, 3 bodies, so you know you got to multiply by 3.
oh yeah, they say for man you got to divide by 3, right? For
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then for women you got to multiply.
that's a fact.
And that shows you right there. That alone, the fact that you got to multiply by 3 and then divide by 3 for men, that shows you right there that there's a disconnect right there, right there.
Exactly. Facts.
I'm gonna play it only like a minute left in the video.
Yeah.
Husband as their best intimacy of their life. Another study I saw shows all the direct negative
Oh
concerns
yeah, this
men
is
and women
good.
feel after having a
Concerns
casual
over
hookup.
casual sex.
Here we
Check
see
these out.
large disparities in numerous factors. 40% of women fear regret, while only 25% of men do.
You see,
40% of women find it dissatisfying, as opposed to 30% of men. Over half of women are concerned about their own personal safety, when only a third of men are. In fact, in this data, women have greater concerns in 12 out of the 14 factors, which shows again that casual intimacy for men isn't a big deal. But for women it is, and they've got a lot more to evaluate for whether it'll be worthwhile or not.
interesting. This is a good breakdown. Concerns about casual sex. So the number one concern is you see the top concerns right
Yeah.
here.
Well,
Man, and
that's one thing
then
we don't have to worry about personal safety so much. You know.
oh yeah, but I mean yeah, but you have heard of dudes getting set up by women, right? Like
Yeah, I mean I mean, I guess it counts as personal safety. I mean, I'm thinking.
mm,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you get set up and get robbed, but
yeah.
yeah, I guess that is personal safety.
I mean women can too, and like that's the thing. Like yeah, because think
You get
about it.
robbed, kidnapped, all
Yeah,
that shit.
think about it. If you go over to someone's house, yeah, you don't know if they got weapons or what. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a fact.
That's the thing. So yeah, I can see um that like and yeah, that's why this like yeah that
Wow.
is uh
Anyway, I hope this shows how, for when it comes to casual intimacy, it is scarcely leading to positive outcomes. Least of all for women, and that's most surprising. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you press the like button and to
and
leave
that's
any
it
thoughts
for that.
or points I've missed in the comments below, as it all helps the
Uh,
YouTube
let's see what they say
algorithm.
in the comments. They got
I'll remember that chapter of my life.
so this video had like 2,000 comments.
Uh,
Uh, all right, this comment look like got the most. Here's 949 upvotes. Nothing is going to stop this, he said. User. The train is going to plow ahead full steam over the cliff. Just do what you can. Interesting. Let's see what they reply with. Somebody said, or Eastern country where they still hold on to traditions and values. Interesting. And then somebody said Philippines. Yo, I've been hearing great things about the Philippines. I ain't going even front.
yeah, me too.
But yeah, I know it's still probably at least I think it is a stack probably to get out there from the U.S. I think it is. I don't think it's no 500. What you think?
500 what?
to get out to do a trip to the Philippines. It ain't gonna be a round trip. You ain't gonna get a round trip to the Philippines for 500, right? It's gonna be closer to 1,000, right?
I would guess so, but I ain't never
You
looked the
didn't
prices.
really, yeah. Look it up. Yeah, I might look it up. See what it say. All right. Somebody said if you can do that, go for it. But for Western man, that's a very difficult thing because the East is out of ethno nationalists, and the white people here don't seem to see themselves as white. They see themselves as Russian, Czech, or Ukrainian. The same with Asia. Unless you are very rich, most Eastern countries don't want strange foreign men moving in. Interesting. Unless you are very rich, most Eastern countries don't want strange foreign man moving in.
Makes sense.
What else they saying? Another thing we are also ignoring is the amount of dysfunctional children in society is raising in single homes. So the future is violent. We must prepare for it. Interesting. Not single homes and single mothers. Children are much less screwed up when raised by single fathers. It still sucks either way, though. Interesting point. So,
This shit crazy. I ain't gonna lie. Either way you look at it, it's just a
oh,
fucking.
somebody broke it down by generation. So, dating for baby boomers, recruit mode. Dating for Generated S, medium mode. Dating for millennials, hard mode. Dating for Gen Z, nightmare mode. Just to let you know, this is based on how easy, hard it was to get a romantic partner back in each generation's prime dating years.
Nightmare mode.
But think about it, Generation X and baby boomers, they didn't really have to deal with that. There was no apps. They didn't have no apps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Everything had to be in person, really,
yeah,
especially
really.
especially for baby boomers, for sure. Yeah.
Recruit mode.
He said recruit boy. Let's see what else they saying. Yeah, that's it for that video, dog. What I can do though is if you want to do another link like Dame Dash interview, I could I could set up another link and we could do it that way, or I mean I could do it on this same link, but I do want to see, I do want to do it on different links, just the fact that the copyright thing, you know what I'm saying, to make
Yeah.
sure which videos, they'll block, you know what I'm saying?
So what that Dave Chappelle, you pull up.
Yeah, you said you want me to pull it up?
I was just wondering, you got it off. I was making sure you got it off of YouTube.
Oh yeah, yeah, I did. Yeah,
So I don't get it. How's it copy? Well, I guess, but if it's off of YouTube, that don't really make no sense.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, I just stopped sharing. So, but yeah, dog, that's 38 minutes though for the So if you want to do the Dame Dash, I can set up another link real quick and I text it to you.
I mean, we could do that tomorrow. Cause I gotta get up early and shit.
All right, for sure, for sure. But yeah, dog, let me stop recording.
Nah, that was very informative though. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, dog, that show was a good one. But yeah, I mean, what you think about that? I mean, the main basis of it is what he thinks the population is gonna collapse because I guess way he made it because there are promiscuity rising equals population collapsing. Basically, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, cause I guess the broken homes turn out more delinquents. Pretty much, he made it seem like more delinquents out here.
But yeah, man. So, but yeah, I don't know if that's gonna. Yeah, and they made it seem like it's gonna continue to rise. You know what I'm saying? The,
Yeah, what's gonna stop it?
the promiscuity trend. I
Yeah,
mean, think about it with OnlyFans. That's basically a promiscuous website, right?
pretty much.
And
Hey,
as long
tell me
as
how many relationships that shit broke up.
man,
Families
and
even shit.
and what you think about do you think porn too
Damn right, that
causes
shit
a
play a
rise
role.
that causes a rise in promiscuity too, right?
Hell yeah, you don't want to live all that shit you see.
Yeah, and you
For real.
can't really, yeah, you can't really, yeah, and you can't really do that if you if you not, you know, being promiscuous. But he also made it seem like it's okay for men to be promiscuous more so, but not as much for women.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because the way, oh yeah, he did say, oh yeah, it's in our nature, it's in man's nature to spread their seed. So pretty much him saying that, he gave people like Nick Cannon props, Future props. Who yo, what other dudes is in that category you would say? The
Wayne, Boosie,
but if you
okay.
think about Wayne, I mean they to a lesser degree though, right? Because they ain't got as many kids, right?
I think Wayne got a bunch of kids. I don't know the exact number. Probably can't make no more.
But nowhere near as much as Cannon and Future, right?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. But think about it. That's interesting. You know how, all right, it's some athletes that don't even have kids, like KD. KD, you know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure he could easily have a bunch of kids, but KD don't have no kids, right?
I don't think so.
And I'm trying to think what other basketball players. All right, what about Jimmy Butler? Have you even heard of Jimmy Butler having a kid?
No,
I
I ain't
haven't
never
heard
heard
of him
about that.
having a kid.
No, I ain't never heard about that.
Yeah, him too. So, cause you would have seen his kid, like him, have his kid at the games or something. You feel me?
Yeah,
So even he could, have a bunch of kids if he want. I mean, even Jimmy Butler don't have a kids either. I'm pretty sure some other athletes,
yeah.
too.
Somebody
But
got. Uh, yeah, they probably ain't trying to. they, you see, like them boys that they're dedicated to the game and shit. So they probably ain't trying to get caught up in that shit yet.
yeah, it's interesting
Yeah, it's true.
because they could easily, it ain't like they could easily have a. I mean, think about it. They got, you would say they got the ability to financially raise more kids than Nick Cannon and Future, right?
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
Especially KD.
yeah, especially KD. I mean, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's so interesting though.
but yeah, dog. I'm gonna stop the recording right now, then,
All
and
right.
then